to give him the fullest of rewards. So, of course, because of time, I would quickly mention that, in fact, when I had the call to present this paper and was given a topic, I pleaded with Dr. Tawfiq to allow me coin a topic so important to me because of the little experience that I also had with the late Sheikh. In fact, I was just telling the retired general that when I was around 12 years, Sheikh was in Lagos, where I grew up. I'm sure you were told that I'm a Ghanaian, but actually grew up in Nigeria. So he was there when I was around 12 o'clock, and I had a picture with him. In fact, I thought I was going to do a presentation on a projector. So I thought I was going to have an opportunity of projecting. So you see the kind of passion I have really to talk about the Sheikh at this moment in time when I have the opportunity to also stand in front of people to speak as a result of conflicts or issues that were happening in and around our area regarding Muslims within, like, intra-Muslim issues, particularly regarding Aqidah. And he came to calm people down. He came to our school to take that picture with us. So when I got the topic, I shared it with my friends who are also in Lagos. And they said, one of them, they say, do you know we have a picture with that Sheikh when we were young? And I said, can you share it with me? And he did. Very interesting picture. Sheikh standing and holding the ruler's Quran. But if you see look at that picture very closely, you realize that we were about 8 of us. The Sheikh was looking inside the book and explaining something to us. But whilst every other person in the picture was looking into the camera, my eyes was focused in the book, in the Quran that he was holding. And that's so important for me, even though it happens unconsciously, but I found it that one day I was going to talk and say something about Sheikh and probably and his legacy. And that is, by the way, this paper is titled Sheikh Abubakar Mahmud Gumi, Sheikh Abubakar Mahmud Gumi's Enduring Framework, Reading Contemporary Nigerian Muslim Challenges through his documented positions from 1950 to 1992, a Ghanaian perspective on prophetic consistency. I will just take you through the abstract, then I will just touch on the main point and conclude because of time. This paper examines Sheikh Abubakar Mahmud Gumi's documented positions on 3 major issues during his lifetime, from specifically from 1950 to 1992. 1 is the Sharia after colonial rule. 2, the 1978 to 1979 constitutional debates. And 3, the Meitasine uprising. And also demonstrate how these 3 positions provide a consistent interpretive framework for understanding what Sheikh's stand will be And so these 3 historic positions that he took, I'm going to look at them and demonstrate how his position would be providing the consistent interpretive framework that he took for understanding what his stand would be likely. I use the word likely, what his stance would be likely on 5 other contemporary challenges that is facing us in Nigeria. One of them is the post-1999 Sharia implementation. The second is the Boko Haram. And then the third is the Christian-Muslim violence. And then the fourth one is the education debate. And then the last one is the Muslim identity in modern Nigeria. Drawing from his writings, sermons, and reformist methodology, the paper argues that Gumi's intellectual consistency, rooted in Salafi reformism, anti-extremism, and prioritization of knowledge, Hasal Khair. Sorry. So, drawing from his writings, sermons, and reformist methodology, the paper argues that Gumi's intellectual consistency, rooted in Salafi reformism and anti-extremism and prioritization of knowledge over power, offers Nigerian Muslims, and indeed West African Muslims, a coherent model for navigating modernity without compromising Islamic authenticity. From a Ghanaian outsider's perspective, the paper also reflects on lessons the broader West African Muslim community can draw for Sheikh Abubakar Gumi's legacy. So I will look at the introduction, I will look at the 2 parts that I've just spoken about, the 3 historical events and the 5 contemporary issues, and we will see how or what he would have said if he was alive. Basically, it is a technique that is known as documented consistency, to extrapolate, to say what he would have said or his position would have been if he was alive. Mr. Chairman, as I prepared to write this paper from my office in Accra, a colleague asked me, "Why are you Ghanaians always looking to Nigeria for everything?" And I responded, "My brother, when your neighbor's house is both a library and occasionally on fire, you must pay attention. There are lessons in the books and warning in the smokes." Indeed, Nigeria's Islamic intellectual tradition, particularly in the north, to us, the Ghanaians, presents one of the richest repositories of scholarly discourse in West Africa. Sheikh Mahmud Gumi stands as a towering figure whose influence extends beyond Nigeria's borders. And it is we who are outside of Nigeria that really realize that. His life coincides with critical transitions, from colonialism to independence, from Western hegemony to indigenous accession, and from traditional scholarship to modern challenges. This paper seeks to accomplish 3 objectives. The first, to document Sheikh Gumi's actual position on 3 major issues during his lifetime: the Sharia after colonial rule, the 1978 to 1979 constitutional Sharia debate, and the Mejasine uprising. 2, extrapolate what his positions would likely have been on 5 post-1992 issues. 1, the post-1999 Sharia implementation, the Boko Haram insurgency, the Christian-Muslim communal violence, the Western versus Islamic education debates, and the Muslim identity in media narratives, based on the internal logic and consistency of his documented methodology. Finally, the third objective is to reflect from a Ghanaian Muslim scholar's perspective on what lessons West African Muslims can draw from Sheikh Gumi's intellectual legacy, particularly regarding the perennial tension between authenticity and modernity. The methodology of framework and also consistency as the imperative key to this paper is based on two things, Mr. Chairman. The first one is the logic of biographical consistency. This paper operates on a methodological principle that intellectual biographers and historians of ideas employ regularly, known as documented consistency. When a thinker demonstrates coherent principles across multiple issues over decades, it becomes methodologically sound to project how those principles would apply to subsequent issues, according to Skinner 2002. This is not speculation, brothers and sisters. It is a pattern. It is pattern recognition grounded in evidence. Sheikh Abubakar Gumi Sheikh Abubakar Gumi's thoughts exhibit remarkable internal consistency. His positions were not ad hoc reactions, but application of stable intellectual framework rooted in 6 things. 1, Salafi reformism. 2, anti-extremism. 3, gradualism. 4, pragmatism. And 5, universalism. Secondly, the primary sources. The analysis of this paper draws from 4 things. Number 1, Gumi's published works, particularly his Hausa translation and commentaries of the Quran. Number 2, documented sermons, interviews, and public statements from 1950 to 1992. His autography and biography accounts by contemporaries. And then finally, archival materials from his role as the Grand Qadi and religious advisor. Just to run through the paper, brothers and sisters in Islam, first of all, I will look at the part of the documented position. Number 1, his position regarding Sharia after colonial rules. When Nigeria gained independence in 1960, Muslim intellectuals faced profound dilemma. The Sokoto and Borno Caliphate had been dismantled by colonial rule, and Islamic governance structures has been systematically replaced with British common law and Euro-Christian administrative framework. Therefore, as one chronicler noted, colonialism left behind, and I quote, a sad history of cultural plunder, civilizational destabilization, social, moral, and religious degeneration, according to the paper of this particular, or background paper, which I got from this particular conference. Many Muslims demanded immediate restoration of full Sharia. Gumi's response were more nuanced. What was his position? Sheikh Gumi strongly affirmed that Sharia is a complete way of life, not merely personal law governing marriages, inheritance, and so on. What are his key arguments regarding this particular point of Sharia after colonial rules? There are 4 things he argued. The first one is acceptance of political reality. Nigeria, he affirmed, was a plural society. Muslims could not impose Sharia through force or confrontation. 2, education as prerequisite. Ignorant Muslims could not properly uphold Sharia. He maintained mass education in Islamic sciences and modern disciplines must precede political implementation. Thirdly, working within the system. Sheikh Gumi himself served as judge, advisor, and eventually Grand Qadi, working within colonial and post-colonial legal structures while advocating for Muslim interests. Finally, moral authority over political power. He maintained that true Islamic governance requires moral transformation of society first and foremost. As he stated in a sermon in 1962, and I quote, as cited by Loemer in 1997, He said, the Sharia is not a sword we wave in the air. It is a lamp that must first illuminate our own hearts before it can guide our nation. Gumi, 1962. So this is the first position he had on this particular issue. What about the Ghanaian parallel about this? This gradualist approach, Mr. Chairman, resonates with Ghana's experience when Muslim communities in the northern Ghana sought greater recognition of Islamic law in the 1960s. Ghanaian scholars like Sheikh Abdullahi Guro Said also emphasized education and community development over confrontation. Perhaps wisdom flows more freely when you are not in majority. We learn patience when we learn to coexist. Secondly, Sharia constitutional debate. That is the second historic position that I want to mention to you regarding the Sheikh. What is the historical context here? During Nigeria's constitutional drafting process in 1978 and 1979, Muslim representatives demanded a Sharia court of appeal at the federal level. Christian groups strongly opposed this, and tensions escalated dramatically, threatening national unity, according to Austin, 2007. What was Gumi's position? Sheikh Abubakar Gumi supported Muslim demands for constitutional recognition of Sharia. However, he rejected inflammatory rhetorics and sectarian escalation that could damage Christian-Muslim relationship. This Gumi, 1978. What are his arguments on this position? There are four. First, legal consistency. He maintained that Nigeria's constitution already recognizes customary law for various ethnic groups. Excluding Sharia would be discriminatory and unjust. Secondly, rights he maintained, not imposition. He opined that Muslims were asking for their constitutional rights as citizens, not seeking to impose Islam on non-Muslims. Thirdly, intellectual engagement. He maintained that the debates should be conducted through legal and rational argument, not emotional appeal or threats. Finally, critique of Muslim politicians. Sheikh Gumi publicly criticized Muslim politicians who use Sharia as a bargaining chip in political negotiations, treating sacred laws as currency. This is Gumi, 1979. Okay, so much time, huh? Okay, so basically, this is the second and the third position, or the third, or in summary, let me summarize, Mr. Chairman, allow me to summarize Gumi's framework as this paper presented.
Have a minute.
In half a minute. Okay, then we go to the conclusion. Okay. Okay, in conclusion, I will say that the lessons learned from the contemporary scholarship is that, one, what Gumi really tells the contemporary Nigerian Muslims is that, one, to the leaders or political leaders, stop using Sharia as a campaign slogan. If you cannot establish justice, provide welfare, and combat corruption, do not invoke Allah's law to legitimize your rule. And to the religious leaders, he emphasized, and I quote, that you have failed the youth. Your silence allowed extremists to poison the minds that should have been filled with knowledge. Return to grassroots da'wah, teach and don't preach. And to the youth Muslims, he maintained that ignorance is not piety. Learn the sciences, master the technologies and AI and current knowledge. Excel in every field, but remain grounded in authentic Islamic knowledge. You can be both Muslim and modern. And to the extremists, he maintained, and I quote, you are not the defenders of Islam, you are its defamers. Every bomb you detonate And every innocent person you kill confirms the lies our enemies tell about our religion. And to all Muslims, reform yourselves before demanding reform of the state. A society that tolerates corruption, practices tribalism and nepotism, as well as neglects the poor, has no right to claim Islamic governance. Jazakumullahu khairan. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Actually, out of respect for visitors, Kanja, he has come also.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much. Prof. Sir. Now go this sir.
Deliberately to him. But I don't think I will do so to the rest. Yes, thank you very much.